I think the power of us lies in all of us being engaged. And what I see now is so exciting to see so many folks here. This has never been done in our state. This has never been done at a national level, where you have had so many API stalwarts and leaders trying to come together to make a change. And I think, and I'm very, very excited, and I am hopeful and confident that in the next 80 days or so, we are going to make this change. And there's going to be a change in the White House, and we'll have a new president that is truly a president in every sense of the word. It's my honor now to introduce the first Assemblywoman who is an Asian, and it was my honor to meet her when she decided to run for office. I think I was amongst the first few folks that she met. And I'm so proud of her, because it's not just running for office, which is never easy, but it's also representing your community. And what a fine job Rochelle Nguyen has done in representing Asians in the Nevada legislature. So without further ado, I will turn it on to Rochelle.
Sorry, you'd think I would be better at unmuting myself at this point, but I'm not. It is true. Ash and other trailblazers here in the state of Nevada were some of the first people that I met. In fact, I think he was maybe the first person that I met in the community to help support me in what later became my appointment. And now I'm sitting here today as the Assemblywoman for District 10. I'm so excited about this for a couple of reasons. For anyone that's known me for a long time, know that I have this ridiculous, you would think he was a part of the Beatles or maybe One Direction, my schoolgirl crush on Vice President Biden. And so I'm very excited to be able to support him and to formally endorse his presidency. And that I'm just so excited about that. So there's a couple of things. And I'm also excited to see so many of our AAPI community here in Nevada to show the rest of the United States that what we can do when we mobilize and we get people together and we get our message out there, that they will understand and we will engage otherwise unengaged voters. So that's very exciting to me. I know that we've heard a lot about how Nevada has one of the fastest growing AAPI communities in the United States. We're currently hovering at 10%. And I know with the active involvement in the AAPI community and getting census data and getting people to fill out their census, that I imagine that will actually increase coming up with these census results. So I'm very excited about that. I know a lot of people wonder, what has inspired me and what keeps me going. And it's all of the community activists and the community groups and the community here in Nevada that has really given me, empowered me to be able to go forward and not only put in for the appointment, but also to continue to want to run and serve in the Nevada State Legislature. I also want to hopefully be a role model and hold that door open for other AAPI members of our community to also run for office, whether it's school board, this Nevada legislature. I know that we have two people on the call that I'm very excited about, and I hope to call them Assemblywomen in 2021 in Assembly District 2 with Radhika and Assembly District 6 with Cecilia. So I'm very excited about all of those. It's funny, I go back to when I was first approached back in December of 2018 about an open assembly seat. And people ask, how did you get here? How did this happen? And it all comes back to Joe Biden. I was sitting at an alumni fundraiser for the Boyd School of Law. That's what brought me to Nevada, was opening up that new law school. And I heard him come out and speak. And he gave this incredibly compelling speech. And I remember sitting next to my husband, and it was all about the importance of service. It was about getting off your butt and getting off the couch and being the change you want to see in your communities. I remember thinking about my own young kids and knowing that I wanted them to see their parents be involved in that change and not just be sitting on the sidelines. And so it was that inspiration that I got from hearing Vice President Biden speak that caused me to put in for the appointment. And that is why I'm sitting here today. So I hope that other people can see that inspiration. Hopefully I can inspire that inspiration in other people going forward. So I'm very excited to be here to support Vice President Biden and Senator Harris in their bid to become the next president and vice president of the United States. I know I'm a little long-winded, and I think of some of the first people that I came into contact with after I was appointed to the seat, and it was Assemblywoman Miller. So I am incredibly honored and humbled to be able to introduce her. She has been a mentor. She has been a fierce advocate for the AAPI community, and she will continue to be. And so without further ado, I will turn this over to her.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman. It's so great to be here. It's so great to be here with all of you right now tonight. Every time I think about this campaign, I think what we are about to accomplish, I get so excited. I mean, I just literally thrilled. And knowing that as Assemblywoman Nguyen talks about, you know, Vice President Biden and how she's always admired him, we know that he has for decades been a strong leader in our country. I think right now, for me, when I think of Joe Biden, though, right now, it becomes very personal. And it becomes personal at the level of representation that we are going to bring into the White House. Vice President Biden isn't just someone who talks the talk. Vice President Biden actually believes and celebrates and encourages diversity and all that makes us America the beautiful. Knowing what not just Nevada, but our country, but what our world actually looks like. And so I was thinking about it, and we have to recognize that Joe Biden is going to be the only person yet, hopefully he's not the last, but he will be the first person to be able to say that the first time he was in the White House, he served with a Black person. He is now going back and bringing a Black person, a Black and Indian person with him. So imagine that, like Joe Biden's almost saying, like, I can't even be in the White House unless I'm with my people like this. So the excitement of knowing that this is Vice President Biden and what he believes and what he celebrates, he understands that we are a multifaceted, diverse nation. Senator Harris, could we have anyone more exciting at this moment running as vice president? She's so many firsts. And, you know, I said the other day that, you know, I'm so happy to celebrate this with my Indian sisters. I'm Black and Lebanese. And so for me to see another Black and Indian person, it's, you know, there's not that many of us that share this combination. And so it's such a joy to know we're going to have such representation that now an entire continent that stretches from the Middle East to the Pacific Islands, all that makes Asia, is going to be represented in the White House and in such a beautiful way. So again, I'm thrilled. I'm excited. I know they're a fantastic team and balance. This is, as Assemblywoman Nguyen was saying, the example. Remember, this is what, I'm a 6th grade teacher, and I remember when I first started teaching, the only president my students had ever known was President Obama. That was what they knew their entire life as a president, President Obama. And it's broken me that our kids now see what they see. But remember, our kids are now going to see President Biden and honor and dignity, and they're also going to see Vice President Kamala Harris. Imagine what that is doing for all of our girls. I remember how excited my girls were last year before shutdown with COVID. They could, every day was the countdown for the movie Milan, because they need to see representation. They need to see themselves empowered. They need to see themselves viewed as heroes and amazing figures. So what's going to happen with Vice President Kamala Harris when we know that, especially in the state of Nevada, AAPI is the fastest growing community right now. But again, for all of our Asian Americans and Asians all throughout the world, again, from the Middle East all the way to the Pacific Islands, that there is going to be representation in the White House. So when I think of that, and when I think of the example this sets for our young girls and for our young boys too, they need to see that. But for everyone, this is what America looks like. And I never thought that someone like me was going to be in the White House. And so it really moves me when I think about it. I just want to thank all of you all for coming out today. Again, this is the hard work. This is the grunt work, the dirty work, as Christian said. We've all seen the movies, and working on presidential campaigns seems so fun and amazing and sexy. And then the real work is tiring and dirty and horrible food and awful hours. And it's a lot of hard work. And usually we're doing it at the doors in triple-degree heat. But this is how we win. And we know there's nothing I'm going to say that's new. We know our republic is at stake. Our democracy, our beliefs, our foundation, what we believe is at stake. And I truly, honestly believe if we don't win this election, it may very well be our last election. So we have to give it all we have all the way until those polls close on November 3rd. Joining us today, I received a tweet, an inbox from our Chinese Americans for Biden. And they're joining us today with volunteers, and they're going to be calling in Nevada and Texas, another state we have to make sure we take. And so I just want to welcome anyone that's part of that group. And again, thank you for having me. We're going to keep fighting for the AAPI community. We're going to keep fighting to make sure that Joe Biden is our president. We're going to keep fighting to make sure that we have representation, people that look like us, in the White House. And so thank you so much. And I'm going to hand it over to Christian, and now he's going to make us get to work. So.
Well, I know Assemblywoman Miller was talking about how glorious campaigns are, but honestly, I'm having fun. I'm having fun because this is something that, I feel very passionate about, and making sure that we are putting the right people in these positions of power, as Assemblywoman Miller, Assemblywoman Nguyen, and Ash have all indicated. We are doing that work now, and we're about to get started, but I have two quick pitches for all of you. So in the chat, one thing that I wanted to share with you is that we are really trying to grow our online communities and make sure that we have a way that we can communicate with you. I know everyone here, most people here have Facebook accounts, and I would implore you to please join our Nevada API for Biden group. That way we'll be able to get information to you as quickly as possible, let you know about any events that might be coming up, and really just be able to communicate with you on a free basis. So please join that link I've said in the chat, and we'll be able to get more information out to you there. The second thing I want to do is, I noticed so many of you on this call, and this is fantastic, and I want to keep in touch with all of you. If there's anything that you might need here in Nevada, I'm the coalition's director, but I'm in charge of the AAPI coalition itself. And I want to make sure that we are supporting Ash and the council to do anything we can. So please feel free to email me, which I've also dropped in the chat if you have any questions that you might have. Now, before I kick it off to our organizer, our great organizer, Marcus, who lead off this training, I wanted to highlight that on this particular phone bank, and I see so many on this call, we will have a couple of specific lists. There will be an API to API list, which I'm sure Marcus will go over, but there will also be a PhilAm list. I'm sure many of you know that the Filipino community here in Las Vegas is the largest of the API demographics, making up roughly 50% of the APIs here. So we literally are going to make a difference in this room tonight with all of you on this call. So I just want to emphasize one more time how excited I am to have all of you on this call and willing to do this work. And now I won't make you do the work, but I'm going to turn it over to our organizer, Marcus, who will.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christian. And right before I get this started, I just wanted to thank Christian again for hosting this wonderful event. It's been so seamless, as well as Ash Mirchandani for being amazing, and both Assemblywoman Nguyen and Assemblywoman Miller. The words they spoke and the speech that they delivered honestly inspires me to keep going every day. And as a person of the AAPI community, I realize how important it is to have our voices heard, and as well as vote, and encourage people in our communities to be educated on voting. So the work that we do here at the NV-Dems is extremely important. A lot of it is voter outreach, doing phone banking and text banking, and making sure that folks have the appropriate information on Joe Biden. So what I'm going to do now is link a Mobilize event in the chat. And I'd love any and all of you to join us for future phone banks. Typically, they're every Saturday and Sunday, times ranging from 12 to 4. And additionally to that, if any of you want to stay updated on the events that we're doing and have live updates from the NVDEMS party itself, I'd invite you as well to join our Slack group, which again is just like a little online group chat where field organizers and HQ sort of post updates and events and speakers that are going on. So I'll put that as well. And one more thing, right before we get started on the actual training, I'd also love for all of you to text app to 30330, which is gonna help y'all download the Vote Joe app, which will help you connect with members of our AAPI community and getting them registered to vote, as well as spreading the word. But without further ado, I'm going to pull up this training doc right now, and then we'll get started and learn how to actually phone bank. So I'm going to share my screen, and please let me know if y'all can see it. Give me one moment. Great. So again, welcome to the 2020 Victory Through Talk / Phone Bank training for August 2020. Great. So first, we're going to just start off with a welcome, agenda, and norm setting. Again, my name is Marcus Matabat. I've been member of the AAPI community, as well as a field organizer here with the NVDEMS for about 4 months. I'm glad to be in the presence of you all. And like I was saying earlier, please join our online volunteer community on Slack. And why join this? Again, like I was saying, receive updates from our campaign in real time during volunteer events, meet organizers, other fellows, and volunteers, share best practices on volunteer things, as well as connect in our virtual office space, since we can't actually be in a physical space right now. And also want to download the app, which is 3 options. You could text app to 30330, or you could go to the Joe/Apple for iPhone or Joe.link, /Android app for Android. And you could also search for the app Vote Joe in the App Store or Google Play and actually install it. So again, agenda, what we're going to be going over is why we make calls, using the program Through Talk to actually make the calls, and what to expect from these phone calls. So why we make calls. We literally only have 70 days until the election day. It's going to pass by us in the blink of an eye. I remember it just like yesterday that my regional organizing director told us that we're only 100 days out, and now we're only 70 days. So it's coming up really quick on us. So just for some context, if I could get a show of hands, for people that have already made phone calls to voters before. Has anybody done that in this call? Awesome, awesome. Good to see that some folks have already done this. Amazing. And also, please raise your hand if you have done other campaign volunteering in the past. Great, awesome, awesome. See that we have seniors as well as veterans on here. And awesome. Lastly, raise your hand if you have not made calls before, but you're really excited to start. Great, great. Really good to see again. Super excited, like I said, to have all these new folks within this call and get you all trained on this phone bank. So the purpose of making calls, we'll make calls to identify supporters of Joe Biden and Democrats up and down the ballot, as well as ask supporters to volunteer, and also mobilize supporters to actually vote. So you are actually the best messenger to talk to voters about Joe Biden and Democrats up and down the ballot to folks. And now we're just gonna go on and learn the script, which we'll be talking about while making our dials. So the components of our script include actually introducing ourselves and building rapport with the voter, identifying their support for Joe and Democrats up and down the ballot, as well as lastly, making an ask to volunteer in the future. So like I was saying earlier, the best advocates for Joe and Democrats up and down the ballot are real people telling their stories. So to do this, you want to build connections with voters by identifying the values that you share with Joe and all of our candidates. You can draw connections to those values in a conversation with the voter using 4 key tactics. The first tactic is really just to listen. So the what, listen to voters' concerns. Make eye contact if on video if possible. Show that you are actively listening by nodding and using open body language, as well as acknowledging what the person. So like I said, acknowledge their concerns. How to do this, summarize the concerns and issues the voter shared with you and repeat them back to them. Ask questions to check for clarity. Also, you could say something like, I hear that you were concerning about XX issue. Thank you so much for sharing. What I'm hearing you say is that you value XX. Is that correct? That's just an example of how you could acknowledge somebody's feelings in this election year. Another important step, the third step, excuse me, is to relate. So relate the voters' concerns to an issue you care about or a value you both share. And you do this by sharing your authentic story while you're here, and then draw a connection between your story and their concerns and values. So you could say something like sharing your story, then say, I know that you care about a certain problem or topic, and so do I. And the last step would just be to connect with the person that you're talking to. Connect the values you both care about to Joe's vision and values. And you do by moving the conversation to how these values connect to Joe's core vision, such as his Build Back Better plan, his record, and his vision for America. So you could frame that by saying something like, I support Joe because he shares our vision and both of our values for said issue and has a plan / record for the issue that y'all were talking about. Awesome. So now I'm just going to go through a little script demo. So using ThroughTalk, which is just the program that we use, ThroughTalk, excuse me, like I said, is a dialing system we use to quickly reach voters. ThroughTalk calls voters for you and connects you to people who have already reached more voters in a shorter period of time, which is super essential. Amazing. So accessing ThroughTalk, you're gonna need ThroughTalk from a laptop or desktop computer, as well as use the browser Google Chrome or Firefox. We could also highly recommend connecting to via a cell phone or a landline phone. If accessible to you, use headphones for the clear sound from your actual phone. Moving on, logging in, first you're gonna click the login link provided, which I'll link at the end of this training. And then afterwards, it should send you to a screen that looks like this. It says Live Vox. You're just going to copy and paste the login ID and password and click Next, which is found up here. All you're going to do is type it in these fields and then click Next. Furthermore, we're going to be talking to 2 lists of voters today. You can choose which one to call. There is the Nevada 2020V Backup 1, which is just a general list of Nevada AAPI voters, as well as Nevada 2020V Recruitment, which is voters from the Filipino community. Awesome. So continuing to log into ThroughTalk, once you've actually signed in, you're going to uncheck the call using Computer Box, which looks like this, and then click Sign In. After that, it's going to give you a prompt, which you're going to call in on your phone using the instructions on the screen. And then furthermore, the voters you call will see a party-provided phone number. It will not be your actual personal phone number that you dialed in from, so it's pretty anonymous. Great. And then once you're signed in and you've dialed into the actual program and typed in the PIN, you're just going to click the button that says click here to start calling. And then after that, you're literally just going to sit and wait for your first call. You're going to listen for a beep. And then once you're connected, indicate if you're speaking to the correct voter. So you would say your little introduction. For example, hi, my name is Marcus and I'm calling with the NV Dems. And depending on if it's the correct person, there's fields for that. Talking to the correct person, not home, moved, wrong number, out of service, and as you can see there. And like I was saying, talking to the correct person, the voter listed has answered the phone and you're speaking to them. Not home is in the case where the line is silent or another member of the household answers the phone or the line has a voicemail recording. In my experience, this is the one that most folks will be pressing on if you don't talk to the intended person. There's also a wrong number button where a live voter answers and shares that you have the wrong number. And there's also disconnected, a recording that indicates that the phone number is out of service or you hear a fax tone. Awesome. There's also moved, which is the voter is no longer in the state you are calling them or no longer at the phone number you called. Refused is in cases where the correct voter answers and hangs up after you say you are with the campaign, or the voter declines to share who they plan to support. Deceased is also unfortunately another button I hope that none of you have to use, but that's in cases where the voter is deceased. Great. So moving on, what you're going to want to do is just click the corresponding script response buttons. And once that happens, it's going to prompt you to the second question, which is just, excuse me, you're just going to be asking if they are going to be supporting Joe Biden and Democrats down the ballot. And you're just going to click on the buttons corresponding to what they say. Great. So in the cases that they say strong Democrat, they'd say something like, awesome, I'm so glad to hear it. There's so much at stake this November in order to defeat Trump and build an America that works for all of us. We're going to need everybody to pitch in. There are a lot of ways that you can help out. Can I get you signed up to volunteer now? Which is just another question that you ask and that you'll see on the screen as you're dialing. And then you just fill out the appropriate answer as to what they said. Awesome. And then after that, if they are a strong Trump person, you could go ahead and actually just end the call right there. Thank them for their time, and then just go on to next call, talk to the correct person. You'll see it on the program. And like I was saying, on the left-hand side of the screen, when you actually log into the program and talk to somebody, there should be these three fields, which is just talk to the correct person, no contact, and remove number, do not call. And you just use these to move to the next call using this panel. Awesome. So like I was saying, talk to the correct person is pretty self-explanatory. We will not call this person back in our current calling campaign, and their number will be taken off the list if we call the same list twice in a day, which is next call. Next call, no contact, is in cases such as like not home. We'll just attempt to call this person again today if we do a second pass of the same calling list that day. And lastly, there's the remove number, do not call button, which that happens in case somebody's like, take me off this list. You're just going to take this person's number off of our calling list and they don't receive another call from our organization. And then after you get through your first call, you're literally just going to wait and wait for the next call as well. So just some general expectation settings for this call time right now. Contact rates on the dialer vary based on how many people are calling. You'll also definitely expect hangups before you speak, dead air, that's part of the dialer tool. Refusals happen and it's not personal. Awesome. You should also expect that you may speak to people who don't share your values. If you can't find some common ground, thank the voter for their time and move on to the next call. Additionally, you should be using your time wisely and be aware of how long you spend on each call. You want to be as efficient as possible with your time. Awesome. So some best practices, you always want to be polite and professional on the phone. Always confirm that you are talking to the correct person, to the correct voter, and be unapologetic in your ask of someone to take action. You're giving them an opportunity to join our team, and also accurately mark the results of every conversation before moving on to your next call. Great. So I'm just going to open up the floor now. You could drop in the chat if there's any questions that you have, and I'll also put the link down in the chat right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen to the actual phone bank. Great. One moment. All right, let me get that link. Awesome. So I just put the link in the chat right now. So if you could all just press on that, you could go ahead and get started on calling. And then I see some questions right now. So are we calling undecided voters or supporters? It's going to be a mixed bag. We're going to be calling registered voters within the state of Nevada. So it really depends on who you call. You could get some like Trump supporters, some undecided folks that we want to really target, and Joe Biden supporters that want to volunteer. It really depends. Also, so Through Talk is actually Dem Dialer. Yeah, it's one of the programs that we actually use to help us make the phone calls and reach the amount of people. And also, I see this. For those of us outside your state, what is the proper pronunciation of the state name? I've been told that this really matters in terms of credibility. It does, yeah, great question. So the proper pronunciation is Nevada. I hear a lot of people say Nevada, which is, please don't say that. A lot of people get offended when you say that. But Nevada is the way to go. And as for AAPI voters only, I believe that this Through Talk list is, yes, specifically tailored to members within the AAPI community. But like I said earlier, I dropped the link in the chat to actually make phone calls. And if you have any questions, just feel free to drop in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and mute myself right now. Thank you. Awesome, great. So I see a question from Susan Lee. Are we supposed to stay on Zoom and phone bank? Yes, that's preferable. In case you have any tech problems, you could go ahead and drop that in the chat. I'll be on here until about 7. Can I send a practice script? Yes, I'll work on getting a resource tool for that and then drop it in the chat. And as for which service do we select, there's 2 separate links. There's one with AAPI, which is just like a general population of AAPI folks within the state. And then the other one is calling Filipino voters. And can we make calls anytime during the day? I want to say yes. The training that I received is that this dialer is open from, I want to say 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. So that link should still be good. Great. Are there any other questions? If we have to leave, will the tools be up on Slack? Yeah, I could make sure to post the tools there on Slack for all the volunteers. Just make sure you sign up to that, or I could even like email it to you. As for the set of script, when you start making calls, it should already pop up when you actually connect to your first voter, but I'm still working on getting a practice script right now. Give me one moment. Since some folks are asking for a resend of all the links, I'm going to drop them right now, starting with the Slack channel. Great, and then in the chat right now, I'm posting a practice script for all of y'all to use in case you'll want to practice before your first call. Oh, right. So to use the Nevada 2020 V backup general or recruitment, if you want to just talk to the general AAPI community, go ahead and use the backup general. And then if you want to talk to the Filipino community, go ahead and use the recruitment one. And then also make sure to please uncheck call using computer. A lot of folks run into problems there as well. And also, if you don't have enough bandwidth to sort of host a Zoom call as well as do calls from your computer, you could go ahead and jump off the Zoom call and then just have questions on the Slack channel that we have in case you have any. And then Angeline, I'll put the script in the Slack channel right now, as well as in this in the chat. Oh, I just saw another question in the chat. So if I close this today, how do I get back on calling tomorrow? You can actually go ahead and bookmark the original link that I put to actually make, and then that's the one that we use all the time to make calls. And then the sign-in process looks exactly the same as well. Yes, Lourdes. The Through Talk program is used via your desktop or your laptop. Awesome. So another question. I am trying to call, but the screen is stuck on the phone number instruction, not allowing me to click on start calling. What you're going to do there is that you're going to dial the number from your personal cell phone or landline that's on your screen, as well as put in the PIN. And then that should clear from your screen, and then you could click on start making calls. Hopefully that works if you uncheck the call using from computer button. Awesome. So other question in the chat, is it normal that my call count is not going up, but I've spoken to several voters already? That's a problem that we've had continuously for the past couple of months. I think it's just something with the Through Talk program, but rest assured that you're still making calls and that we log it. It doesn't show up on the front end, but instead of the back end of the program. So unfortunately that still does happen, but yeah. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that since there's a bunch of folks in this chat and in this call having some tech issues, I'm gonna go ahead and make a breakout room with one of our other wonderful organizers, Nick, and he'll sort of help you through those problems. So if any of y'all have problems with the program or any questions in general, please type that into the chat and then I'll put you into a separate breakout room. Sorry, all for the delay in answers. I'm just gonna make these breakout rooms right now, and then we could go ahead and ask those organizers those questions in those.